call the Public Works and Planning Committee to order. Mr. Stevens going to say a prayer.
I will. Let's pray together. Our Father in heaven, we're so thankful for this opportunity we have to serve our community. Father, we're so thankful for this committee and the areas of our county where we can be involved and make decisions. Lord, I pray that as we consider the reports and the actions tonight, that we'll do so with pure hearts and the right motives. And I pray that you'll guide our discussions and that in all things we'll honor you. We pray all these things through Jesus' name. Amen.
First item, we need to approve minutes of last meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented from the last meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
First item up will be building codes.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, welcome to the new Commissioners. Building Codes Department report for September was 215 permits issued. Monies taken in was $225 for planned review, $69,486 for building permits, $7,915 for plumbing permits, $750 for gas permits, for a total of $78,376. Back of that report shows our activities was 66 single-family dwellings for September compared to 40 single families last September. Our totals for single families was 494. That is 44 homes increase from last year at that same time period. Our total permits issued was 1,961. That's an increase of 62 over the same time period of last year.
David, remind me, where are the apartments? I see multifamily at 0.
The county usually don't do any multifamilies.
All city?
We're like on septic systems.
Mm-hmm.
Very few places in the county have the city sewer connections, so we don't get into the multifamily.
So no lots, no, the county gets part of every lot, whether it's city or county, correct? The county
That's on
development
the
tax.
development tax, yes, sir.
Okay. I'll jump in on that with development tax.
Okay. On the next page is our zoning enforcement. Our property maintenance inspections performed for September was 258. Going back up the list to liens released, we released 28 liens in September, so that was a real good number for us. We have not placed but 23 liens the total this year, so that means we're getting some of our older liens taken care of from even last year, and where we do the grass cutting and the maintenance for the lot, we get those liens back to us. On the next category was Board of Zoning Appeals or conditional use inspections was 3. We pulled or inspected 78 signs for a total of 81 in that category. New cases 32, closed cases 61. Our next report would be the development tax collections. Building Codes Department took in $140,250. Planning for lots took in $168,000 for a total of $308,250. Our cumulative total from July to September is $630,750. A breakdown of where those fees was collected is below that, with Murfreesboro City being the highest, collecting, and Smyrna next. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody got any questions today on the report?
I'll make a Motion approved.
Second.
Motion made, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Landfill and solid waste.
Good evening. How are y'all this evening?
Thank you.
How are you?
Doing good. We'll start with the landfill report. It's going consistent out there. You can see that at the bottom, the revenue's a little bit down, but not a whole lot. We've got some things going on. In 2 weeks, we should be installing the new gas monitoring probes to replace some of those that's been gone for quite some time. Should have that completed in 2 days, is what they're estimating. And then that will help us to monitor the methane gas. The landfill was closed in '94, so theoretically that gas would almost be gone, but ours is not. The reason for that is when you fill the landfill area and you cover it up, when you start back the next day, you should breach that where all your trash ties together. Ours is little individual pockets. So if you got it trapped, it stays trapped until it finds a way out. So that's what's doing part of that. And then had a new survey done to do a final plat for the landfill. We never actually had one. Estimated about 5 years of life left in the Rutherford County landfill. If we choose to go for an expansion, we would be able to go taller. For those of you who've been out there, the old closed garbage site is the tallest part, and then the C&D site is the low part. So we could continue coming up, and I'm assuming meet that same height, and that would be it. And that's probably about another 50 feet of height.
What does that buy you in years?
Probably 10 to 12, maybe.
Okay.
In addition to the 5,
Yes.
an additional 10 or 12.
Or total? 10 or 12 or
Uh,
17 or 18?
It depends on how we do on our recycles and everything else. It could be as many as 17. We've diverted shingles. That's roughly a third of the business that we were taking in, so that reduced a lot of hours. We're looking at some other possibilities in the future for waste to energy, and if we do that, we'd probably go back into our landfill and dig out all the wood products and grind that up and use it for fuel source anyway. When we had the big tornado years ago, in '09, I believe, TDEC allowed us to have an emergency expansion area, which is about 5-acre area. And our thought process was that would be our expansion area. And then when we did some investigation on it, it was an emergency situation, so we got to install it a little differently and not follow all the regs. So if we went in for an emergency, for an expansion on that, we'd have to dig it up and start over. And it's not worth digging up.
Is the increased height practical? Is it something that we could?
We could look into that. We could look into that. The big thing is to look and see if that's the right thing for the county to do. And I think more than likely it is. Middle Point's scheduled to close in 12 and a half years or so. We take in a month what they take in a day. So every month that we close would be another day's worth of trash in addition to what they're already getting. So if we closed ours early, we'd just be filling that one faster.
Did you say 5 years left on Middle Point?
No, 12 and a half.
12 and a half years.
That's at current volumes. But as you know, the population's continuing to increase. We've got more businesses coming in, so as all that comes in, then that just speeds up that closure date.
Mac, who has to approve an elevation increase like that?
TDEC. We'd have to go through a major modification process, public hearings, all that kind of stuff.
Is that something that takes a year or two to work through?
Pretty close.
So we would need to plan ahead if we wanted to go down that road then
Right.
a little bit, by a couple of years.
We would probably need to start at least 3 years ahead when we needed to do that, because you're going to have delays in those processes.
Right. But where we are filled, the height that you see, we haven't covered the footprint. So we've got roughly half of that area sitting right beside it that we've not done anything with. So that's where we're getting that 5 years.
So the height of the tallest point now is not as high as it can still go legally.
Our old closed landfill has actually settled an average of 4 feet over the years. So theoretically, you could go in and put 4 feet on top of it. That's not the right thing to do because the line has got a cap on it and everything else. So you need to leave that alone. And it's roughly an elevation of around 700 feet. And where we are now is somewhere around 640. And of course, you've got contour slopes that come off of that. So that whole section can't be that tall. You've got to get all your slope and your drainage right. And on that closed landfill, we are pumping leachate, not daily, but we're pumping it regularly, and we pumped over 1 million gallons out of there in a year.
And what do you do with that?
We take it to Murfreesboro wastewater treatment plant.
And then we're processing.
And our leachate is mild enough, it does not have to be pre-treated at all. We dump in the same location that the porta potty people do.
And will that leachate continue at that volume? Will it increase or decrease?
We think once we get a little better control on the drainage on top and get some better coverage on top, we can lessen that volume. We're still getting infiltration from stormwater. But once the stormwater gets into the trash, and then it becomes leachate, and you've got to do something with it. So we're working on a little different drainage and slopes, and this final plat, if they approve it, which we had a meeting last week, and it sounds like they're going to approve it pretty easily. That will let us put a little dome shape on top, and we're pretty close in one area to the right elevation now. So we can go ahead and start that drainage and to divert that water. Years ago, we were using a alternative cover, which was basically ground up construction debris. The only reason we have to cover our landfill is to keep the paper from blowing away. Middle Point has to cover daily because to keep the animals out of it because of the food waste. We don't have food waste, so we don't have an animal problem. So that works really well to keep the paper out. But it's not like dirt at all. It's just throwing stuff out on top so when it rains, it soaks right through. So that's what's helped create this issue.
And your plat is just going to record current conditions. This new plat that you're generating, just going to capture current conditions, current boundaries, topography, and from that we can build
right
or consider where to go from there.
As you go through the process, there's a closure plan. Well, the final contour closure plan was never submitted. So what we've done is gone back and looked. This is what it was intended to be. This is where we are. And that's the agreement that we're going to actually finally get that closure plan in place for the CMP site. Now the old Class 1 site, it was closed 94, so it was done correctly.
Do you want to expand on that question you asked about when do we need to start?
Well, you're thinking about the height issue you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, it would sound like if we have an estimated 5 years left,
And it might take us 2 or 3 years
we're
to
probably looking at end of 16 maybe to really start looking hard at the application process and negotiation with TDEC. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And then part of that decision
latest.
is part of that is what do we want to do? Do we want to stay in the landfill business? Do we want to get out of the landfill business? You know, do we want to? Because in continuing it, you're going to look at replacing some equipment, and a new dozer is $800,000+. You know, so there's a lot of big expenses in there that you've got to really weigh it out and see if it's going to be worth it. Any more questions on the landfill? Let's go to the convenience centers. Convenience centers are typically slow this time of year. Right after summer is over, school starts back, we normally slow down until fall break, which is this week, and we'll have a little spike because of fall break. The only thing we can figure is the dad says, yes, son, you've got that pickup truck and a driver's license, so you stay busy this week. That's the only thing we can come up with. But right after fall break, it'll get back slow until Thanksgiving again. So we're running through our normal pattern. closure on Sunday as far as not taking the bulk items. If you'll go to the last page of that report, look at the bottom 4 lines, it gives you a comparison of the month of September from 2014 to 2013, and it's compactors versus open tops. That tonnage is pretty much reversed. So what's happened with that is people were bringing the stuff in, broke it up in bags, and it's going in the compactor. The good thing for us is that compactor, when you haul it, weighs a little over 10 tons. The open top weighs about 2. So you're getting roughly 5 truck trips in one load. So it's a whole lot more efficient that way.
While you're on convenience centers, what's the timeline at the Almaville one for expansion of adding the second compactor?
We've got the equipment already purchased, and the equipment is already here. We've got the new fence built, the old fence removed. Got electrical contractors going out there to give us a quote on putting the power in for the new compactor service, which would be a 3-phase power. One of the questions that they're going to need to answer for us is, do we have enough power on site? We may have to bring more power in because we already have 2 compactors there already. Trying to get quotes on the concrete pad. We did 3 pads 2 years ago. Very, very inexpensive, but the guys passed away, so we don't have that opportunity anymore. We're hoping to have it installed by Christmas, to answer your question. That's our plan.
Mac, let me ask you a question, because I'm trying to learn, educate myself a little bit. A loaded compacted container ultimately goes to your landfill?
No, we don't take hardly anything to our landfill. Everything goes to Middle Point.
Okay, to Middle Point. The same open container that is, like you said, 5 times less in weight because you've got more air than anything else, also goes to Middle Point.
That's correct.
I'm assuming, this is where I'll get in trouble, I'm assuming that, is it easier for those people that work there at the landfill who are running the equipment, is it easier and faster for them to bury the compacted material versus the uncompacted open container?
Yes. The Middle Point, if you've ever been out there when they open a new sale, they'll spend literally $1 million an acre to get a sale ready to put garbage in. And when they put the first trash in, they'll take only the compacted loads.
Okay.
The front loader trucks usually have some soft debris, and our compactors do too, and that's what the very first layer of trash in there is going to be. The reason behind that, it doesn't have as many sharp objects to poke through the liner.
Yeah.
And then once they get that established, then they'll put everything else in there on top of it. But once you dump that load out with a compacted load, they'll take the dozer and they'll start pushing it, leaving a thin layer and driving over it, get it where it needs to be, and then walk it in, and it's there. With the rough stuff, they've got to keep on walking on it, breaking it up.
So it's a lot more labor intensive to handle the open container material.
Right. And in our landfill, that's basically all we get is the open container type material. We don't take any carbon. It's construction, demolition waste.
Okay.
I was at the Smyrna Convenience Center a few weeks ago, and I noticed that there was somebody in front of me that had a Davidson County tag. There was somebody else had a Wilson County tag, and somebody had a DeKalb County tag. And I'm afraid people are coming in from all these surrounding counties and bringing their trash to our convenience center, and we're paying for it.
Did you write them a ticket?
I know, I wish I could. But I was wondering, is there anything that we can do about that?
It's really hard to control, and the reason it's hard to control is this is a college town. So you've got a lot of students that move here, actually live here, and become residents because they're going to school with those tags.
Out-of-state tags.
So they don't necessarily change their tags. So what we try to do is, the first time you come in and we say something to you, well, I just moved here. Well, we need a current utility bill. And then the convenience center attendants are pretty good at recognizing you. They won't know your name, but they'll recognize your vehicle, they'll recognize your face. Oh, that's that guy that's moved in. So that's part of what happens. And then some of it, if it's on a Saturday or Sunday, Weekly Lane is the busiest convenience center, I would dare say, in the state of Tennessee. When we did a car count in 2012, TDOT helped us out. They, the road things that they put out to count cars, they put one at all 14 convenience centers for a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. It's December the 10th, 11th, and 12th of 2012. It was the slowest business weekend we've had. It snowed on Sunday. Weekly Lane had 3,500 cars in 3 days.
Jeez.
Las Casas is normally ranked about 5th. It was 2nd, had 2,000 cars. The only thing we could figure with the Las Casas folks is they're determined. It didn't matter if it snowed or not; they were still taking their garbage. So, so that's but it varies. Ours is weather related. When it's a real pretty day and people are out working in the yards, things like that, we're busy. If it's a stormy day, we're not as busy.
Was there anything that we can do to raise awareness that out-of-county residents are not welcome to bring their garbage to our site?
What I have asked, I don't know how far to go, probably won't go very far, but I contacted the town of Smyrna and the city of Laverne and asked them to put it on their agendas and in their discussion process to where when they pass their budget for next budget year, they will have in place a police officer that his sole purpose is to be at each of those convenience centers when we're open. Because the problem we have is we have no teeth. If you come in with the wrong tag and the stuff that we can't accept, and the superintendent says, no sir, we can't take that, and you said, the heck with you, I'm doing it anyway. All he can do is call the police. He can ask you to leave, but he can't make you leave. And by the time the police gets there, most of the time they're gone. So that's, I talked to Sheriff Arnold about it. He said, if you get it in my budget, I'll put one in every one of them. Well, that's pretty expensive. And I'm not sure we need one at all of them, but those two I think we do. And of course, their response back was, how much is the county going to pay for this? And my answer to that was, currently 51% of what we do is in your area, and we're already burdened enough. You need to take a little responsibility. And I've not heard back from either town. So.
Well, I'll reach out and see if we can do that, but it's just frustrating. Our landfill's filling up at this fast rate. Everybody's bringing their trash to our sites, and they need to be taking their trash to their county places and let them figure out how to deal with it.
Well, we've got 14 sites. We don't have to have that many. That's what we have chosen to have. The state requires us to have 9. And that's based, you can calculate 2 different ways. We choose to calculate by square miles. Rutherford County is not going to get any larger, land-wise. So in that square mile calculation, you can take out Percy Priest Lake, you can take out the air base, those type, City of Murfreesboro, because they have their own service. So that's where we come up with a number of 9. The other way to calculate is based on population. Well, as you know, population is a moving target. If we calculated on that, probably in the next 2 years, we'd probably have to add one more center somewhere to stay in compliance with that. And that calculation does not include the City of Murfreesboro having one, but we don't include the residents either. Davidson County has 3 convenience centers. But the way they get by with that is they've got curbside collection for everybody. So theirs is basically for the bulk items and those type of things. And they charge. So that's probably what we're going to have to look at doing next 3 to 5 years, is a pay-as-you-throw type system, to where you pay to get rid of your garbage and we accept your recycle with no charge. We've got to look at doing something to change it. You remember, currently we don't have any property tax dollars in the budget. By doing what we've done on the Sunday issue, our percentage of loads have gone down. Our fuel cost has gone down. We've spent $4,000 less in fuel last month than we did the previous. And we're doing those things to try to save money, because the way we're budgeted for this budget year is a $4.5 million budget with $1 million of it coming out of fund balance. So if we continue that, we'll be broke in fund balance.
How many days a week are the convenience centers open?
5.
Oh,
But the trucking operation runs 7 days a week.
okay. That's removing full and bringing in empty? Okay.
It still runs 7, but the convenience center's no longer open on that 7th day. Is that what you?
No, it's only open, convenience centers are only open 5 days a week. It's closed on Mondays and Thursdays. So the weekend historically is the busiest time, Saturday and Sunday. So Monday they're closed, but we're running trucks to get them ready to open on Tuesday. Normally, before we started our August 3rd process, it was common for us to start a Monday morning with 150 to 175 loads on the ground. Now, since we've started this process, we've got anywhere from 75 to 100 on the ground. So it's cut back that much.
What did you modify on Sunday? You just alluded to save $4,000 in fuel last month.
We don't take bulk items on Sundays.
Okay.
We'll take your household kitchen type trash and your recycles. Of course, we've gotten a few phone calls about that. Some people are not really pleased with it, but most of them understand. Some of them don't.
Were they at last cast?
There was a few.
Did you get some of those calls?
There was a few, and actually it was basically countywide. And the surprising thing is we get calls like Sunday afternoons. I'm in the office. I'll get a call on Sunday afternoon. You know, I've carried my stuff out there and can't get rid of it. Well, man, we've been doing this for 2 months. Well, I haven't been there in 2 months, but it's Sunday's the only day I can come. Well, apparently you didn't need us in 2 months, so you may be able to find another day. But those are some of the issues. And then we're also working with the city of Murfreesboro. They're working on their 2035 plan, and they've realized that solid waste is going to be a major part of that. Of course, they have their own solid waste department, and the county has one as well. We do trash collection completely different from each other, but we've got the same focus. We run front loader trucks and roll-off trucks. They run rear loaders, side loaders, and knuckle booms. But we're after the same goal. Our big push is recycling. That's going to help us get where we need to be the cheapest and the quickest right now.
What percentage of the trash cannot be recycled?
Now,
Goes in convenience centers.
I'd say probably 20 to 25% of it cannot be. We've still got a lot of people that just, it's a change. They just don't want to change. And it's a kind of a struggle, and it's something you've got to set your mind to. If you've ever been a smoker and decided to quit smoking, that was a change. It was really tough to get through. Learning to recycle is almost that tough. The big push that we've got with the Murfreesboro City and Rutherford County is it is extremely difficult for us to ask the citizens when the governments aren't doing it well, and the governments are not doing it well. So we're working together to try to get better at what we do. School systems, their park systems, our county offices, that type of stuff. And even with their own group, it's it's a change. And some just don't want to do that.
I've noticed at our office, we've implemented the recycling, and our thing is filling up every week almost.
It is every week.
At least every week. We have a class there, then it's maybe twice a week, and so a lot of stuff that was going in just throwaway
Right.
to the landfill is now going in to recycling. I was amazed how much and how quickly
There's
it's accumulated.
Roughly a dozen of the county buildings that have those containers for that. And there's probably 5 that call us regularly to have theirs dumped. There's some of them that we've never heard from since we took them to container.
It
So
gets
that's
to
part
be-
of the struggle.
It takes determination and habit, and I've always been a big recycler at home, so I do it, and it's learning it's a new process.
Well, and in that classroom situation, most of the time, if you come in and tell the class your recycle goes here, your garbage goes here, they'll do that.
Mhm.
You just got to be sure to let them know. If you don't tell them, then it's not going to happen. In the school systems, my belief is when I was teaching school, you had a custodial staff that was responsible for a certain area of the school. So they would walk down the hallway with a 30-gallon trash can on wheels and a cart with a broom and a mop and the dust stuff and the cleaning stuff and all that kind of stuff, and they'd go into each classroom. So since we've started the recycle program, they still have their same routine. So if they're going into that classroom and you've got a can of recycle over here and a can of garbage over here, they've got one container to put it in. So that's something that they're going to have to work on to have better access to get it, to keep it separated.
Well,
And you-
sorry.
You will get questions. The mayor got one on the radio the other day. We get it pretty often. There's some people that truly believe that they will spend their time to recycle and put it in a recycle container and it goes directly to the landfill. That is not true. We generate $300,000 to $400,000 a year in revenue off that recycle. So if we're putting it in the landfill, that's not happening. So if you get asked that question, yes, it does get recycled.
I move that we approve the report.
Also,
Motion and a second, any more questions? All in favor?
Mac, let me ask you a question.
Mac.
And I won't speak for the other new commissioners on this particular board. Is there a good time during the week where you're less busy that I could come and sit down with you and you could educate me on solid waste?
Sure.
Is there any days better than others?
Thursday's usually our least busy day.
Okay. Mornings, afternoons?
It really doesn't matter.
I'll
just
call
we'll
you,
set something.
but I'd like to not waste this board's time, but we get a hands-on.
Right. And I sent y'all an email a few weeks ago trying to give you a brief explanation, and I hope that helps.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, thank you for that.
all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Next month, we should have a report on a waste to energy situation. The Colonel and the city of Murfreesboro and I are going to Brownsville, Georgia, to check out a system that they've got up and running. So hopefully we'll have some news anyway.
Lanny?
Evening, Commissioners. Hope everybody's doing well today. First thing I want to talk about is the available lot inventory. I passed that out prior to the meeting. It's also on your iPads and was part of the email that went out. Well, actually, not this. Oh yeah, you didn't get that, but it is on the iPads. Just to give a little bit of history of how we started doing this, not too long after I came on board with the county, Mayor Burgess wanted us to come up with a way to track active subdivisions in the unincorporated area of Rutherford County. What you're looking at here is just the unincorporated areas, not the inside the city limits. So we took a step back, took a look at the subdivision inventory that we had. We picked a date of 2004. There's nothing magical about that date. It was just we needed to start somewhere, so we settled on 2004. So what you have here are subdivisions that were approved and kind of their status. Now what you're seeing here, these reports that you have, this is two different reports in this packet. You've got the first is the recorded plats with available lots. These are the subdivisions that have been through the process. They're recorded. People could come and pull building permits on them right now if they wanted to. So that's why you've got the total number of lots and the lots available. That kind of gives you an idea of the subdivisions that are out there and the lots available. Now keep in mind, again, this is just from January 2004 going forward. There may be some lots kind of left over from older subdivisions that are still out there, are not going to be reflected in this list necessarily. Also, when we started doing this list, what we looked at doing were the subdivisions that what we called major subdivisions, 4 lots or greater. So if you had a 1-lot subdivision, someone came in with a 100-acre farm and wanted to carve off an acre or two for a child or something like that, you won't see that in this list either. We kept it at 4 lots or greater. Since that time, we've approved new subdivision regulations that changes the definition of what's considered a major subdivision versus a minor subdivision. But for the most part, what you're seeing here is still 4 lots or greater. That's not really going to change any. So that just gives you a little bit of background on that. And the second part, and I guess it's really the last page in your report there, these are the subdivisions that, again, since 2004, that are somewhere in the process but have not been recorded yet. Most of these are going to be newer subdivisions, or those that are having granted plat extensions over the last several years. And at the end of both of those reports, you'll see a total lots. Like for instance, in the not recorded subdivision list, there's about 1,129 lots that are out there. You couldn't pull building permits on them at this point because they're not recorded yet, but they're somewhere in the approval process. On the other report, the recorded plats, you'll see the available lots for this last month, as of September 30th, 766. So that is the total number of available lots that someone could come in and pull a permit on today, tomorrow, if they wanted to. Now, what we've been doing for the last few years really, we've come up with and this is the chart that I handed out before the meeting started. You'll notice the total available lots, again, recorded The chart actually goes from January 2009 to the present. That title up there, January 2004, that again, that's just the overall chart. That really shouldn't be changed, and I'll take care of that. But you can see from January 9th, January of 09 through July, and this actually does go through August, September. Again, it's just the way that the labels down there didn't quite pick up everything. But you can see that when we first started tracking this in January of 09, we had over 1,600. I think the top number at one point was like 1,657 available lots. And what you've seen over the years, of course, that was pretty much at the height of the recession that we had. What you see over time is that lot number has gradually decreased. You know, it kind of fluctuates a little bit here and there, but you can see the trend is definitely going down. And again, we are now under 800 lots, available lots. So typically what you would probably start seeing is as you see this lot inventory go down, you're probably going to start seeing a jump in the number of subdivision plat not recorded as we start seeing more. We don't really track this one necessarily, but as time goes on, I imagine that's probably what you're going to see is more in the not recorded as the Planning Commission starts considering more and more subdivision plats. And keep in mind also, this is just, again, the unincorporated area. Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, Eagleville, they'll have their own way of tracking these things. This just gives you an idea of what we're looking at from the unincorporated area. This is something, I don't necessarily give you the chart every month, but this report with the total lots and the subdivisions, everything, that is a report that we do prepare for you every month. So you'll see that every month at this meeting.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Based on this lineal map or chart, assuming things were maintained at a current course, it looks like if you did the math by mid-year of the year 2017, you'd be down to 0 lots. Is that a realistic?
I don't think so, because at that point, obviously we still have people coming into the area.
Okay.
They're going to need places to live. When that lot inventory starts getting to a certain point, you're going to start seeing again more subdivision plat activity coming in. So, I don't think you'll ever just see this 0 out.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the lot inventory report? Normally, the second part of the report that I do deals with rezonings. This last month, we didn't have any rezonings at the Planning Commission, so I really don't have anything to talk about in that regard. What I will do is just kind of walk you through the other report, our normal planning report. Just a couple of the activity items that we do put in here for your review, just really for your information more than anything. What we're going to be looking at here, the first page of that deals with subdivision plats and site plans that the Planning Commission considers. These are items, again, both this and the Board of Zoning Appeal report I'll cover in a moment, are items that the Board of Commissioners does not take any action on. Plats and plans stop with the Planning Commission. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a separate body. They handle special exceptions, variance requests like setback variances. Special exceptions are those things where they're permitted in different zones. Certain uses are permitted in zones. Some of them are by right. Some of them are what's called a special exception or conditional use permit is another way to consider those. But again, that's just giving you, this is really just for your information more than anything. But you'll see that the County Planning Commission, there were about 7 plats and plans that were considered. Some of them were preliminary plans. Those are kind of master plans, if you will, for those subdivisions. Final plats are the recordable documents. Those can be brought to the Register of Deeds and recorded, and then lots can be built off of those. Site plans are generally non-residential type development, or it can be multifamily. Again, like Mr. Jones talked earlier, we don't see just a whole lot of that in the county just because of the needing of the sewer infrastructure, which we don't provide. But site plans are generally non-residential, and that's what we'll see. But that just gives you kind of an idea of the activity that the Planning Commission has seen this last month. The Planning Commission meets twice a month. They meet on the second Monday and the fourth Monday of each month. The second Monday is at 6 p.m. and they meet in the room right next door, the same room that you'll meet in for County Commission meetings. That's where we handle our rezoning cases. Sometimes we will handle the occasional plat or plan there in that meeting, not very often. The second meeting of the month is held in our mezzanine meeting room over across the street in the planning office. That's where we consider plats, subdivision plats and site plans. We don't consider rezonings in that meeting. Actually, I don't think we haven't done that in quite some time. So rezonings are always at the night meeting, and then generally plats and plans are considered at the fourth meeting of the month. Again, the Board of Zoning Appeals, they meet once a month, second Wednesday of the month, and they meet again in the same room that you all meet for the Board of Commissioners meeting. Again, they're looking at things like special exception requests, allowing uses by special exception in certain zones. They're also looking at setback variances. They could be looking at a combination of the two, height variances, anything like that. This year had been a pretty busy year until the last few months slowed down just a little bit, but just gives you an idea of the type of requests and everything the Board of Zoning Appeals does consider. So that's just kind of a quick overview. Again, when we have rezoning cases, I go a little bit more into those as far as what they're asking for, what the Planning Commission's general demeanor was, their recommendation, and just give you an idea of what you'll be considering at your Board of Commissioners meeting next week. Planning Commission in rezoning cases acts as a recommending body. They don't stop there. They go all the way to the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners make the final decision when it comes to rezoning cases. That's quite a bit of information to throw at you in a brief amount of time, but if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them at this time.
Anybody got any more questions to ask Doug on? Just to tell most of y'all new commissioners, it'd be good to you to go to a few of those meetings. If you had spare time, I know I used to go to them, good, still do to some, but you learn some good information right there, so you know what's going on.
I move to accept the report.
Second.
All in favor?
If I could just make just one quick announcement real fast. Most of you know that Eric Hill, our county engineer, recently resigned his position to take a similar position in basically where he grew up in Alabama. We hated to see him go. Happy for him, though. He's doing well down there. He came back up to the office to visit last week. Unfortunately, I was out in the field when he came by, so I didn't get a chance to see him. But he is doing well. His replacement, his name is Mike Hughes. He'll be joining us from SEC Engineering, which is a local engineering firm. His first day of the job will be this coming Monday on the 13th. So I know we're looking forward to getting him on board, and I know that you'll all enjoy working with him as well. So,
Doug, I'm curious, how many applicants did you wind up having for that?
I believe we had 6, if I remember right, sir.
I think you'll do a great job.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've worked with Mike in various projects in the past, so I'm just familiar with him when he applied. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next will be the highway department. Mr. Greg Brook.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations, everyone. I really have a great committee here. County did well. Well, have several things for the highway department. This is a little abnormal for us to have 4 things before you, but we'll just start with the, let's see here, I think we've got the drainage easement on top, we should have. This is a little problem we're trying to alleviate on Thompson Road, that an undersized existing structure, county structure, that probably needs to be upgraded a little bit to alleviate some flooding. There's a subdivision out there, Pinnacle Hills, that a retention or detention pond? I think it's just a detention pond in there. It's going to drain into a roadside ditch and probably subsequently undersize the pipe that's currently under the road, Thompson Road. So this easement right here, some people have allowed us to cut a little ditch down beside one of their fences to drain this on back to a creek, a drainage basin back there.
So the owner has granted an easement for you to go in and improve the ditch, right?
Actually create
a ditch.
Mm-hmm.
But then you still need to do a cross drain, a larger cross drain underneath Thompson.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Does that,
We have
is
to
it,
make a motion.
is that all,
to
is that
accept
part
it.
of, yeah, that's all part of this easement?
No,
Approval, or-
the drain under the road will be, you know, that's
That's a
already
separate-
ours. Yeah, that's a separate deal.
Okay.
This easement is just across some
Okay.
private property.
All right.
Yeah.
Do we need to have a motion on each of these?
Just to accept the easement.
I certainly move to accept this as read.
I'll second.
All right, thing number 2.
All in favor?
Oh.
Aye.
Got a little ahead of myself. Thing number 2 is a waiver of damages, which is, it is the way that we grant a part of a road back to a property owner. Briley Road is a road with no outlet. It's a dead-end road. And the last 2/10, as it exists right now, the last 2/10 of a mile of Briley Road is surrounded by one property owner. And there is no, his house is not off of that last 2/10. So there is no house on the last 2/10 of Briley Road. And his fence, the way it lays out right now, his fence comes to Briley Road and then grows around the last 2/10 and takes off from the same place on the other side. He was having a lot of people come up there and dump garbage because there's no house, it's pretty secluded. So people were coming up there and dumping garbage on the end of this road that's actually on, in his property. So he just put a gate across it. And one of our highway commissioners was out there looking at a drainage issue and noticed that gate and that the mileage didn't line up what's in the road book compared to where the gate was. So the property owner and the highway department got together and decided the best way to solve all the problems was just to let this road go back to a private road. So he signed a waiver of damages, which releases us from anything that happens on that stretch of road in the future, as well as releases us from the maintenance of that road, that part of that road. So it's a standard thing. We don't see it very often. The waiver of damages, that is, we don't see it very often, but when we do see it, that's the way it's done.
So if something, improvement took place on that, it would just become part of the plat to improve the road by the developer or whatever. We just deal with
That's
that.
correct. That's correct.
Excuse me, Superintendent Root, it will go back to him.
It is his.
It is
It
his,
is
right.
his.
So if I remember right, the terrain such as it's very unlikely that a road will ever
Connect.
connect and go around.
It's
Right.
practically impossible.
Right.
Yeah. Geographically, it's just not
Pretty familiar.
feasible. Yeah.
So his gate will stay and he can keep folks from
Accessing that.
sneaking back there and
Dumping.
doing whatever they do back there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct.
They've been arguing on that problem with Mike Williams back in there.
I think maybe even before mine.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, there was
Willard
a
was.
gate there at one time.
Mhm. So it makes sense. I mean, without seeing it, it's a little hard to explain. But physically looking at it on the map or something, it's a little difficult to explain how it all lays out. But it does make sense.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
The motion approved is,
That's a move. A second.
motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we got state aid. We got a budget amendment here for state aid roads and bridges.
The one dated 2nd or the 6th?
The second.
Thanks.
The 6th is for a liability insurance deal. The one on the 2nd, that's the roads and bridges. Little background, I don't know how familiar any of you are with the state aid program. With just a brief little snapshot of that, and I'd be happy to go over it in more detail if you want to come by the office anytime. I'm normally there, but we get money from the state every year into an account for state aid roads and to an account for state aid bridges. The the amount of money we get is determined by several things. On roads, the state has so much money. There's 95 counties, and of the total amount that the state is going to disperse into the state aid road system, 50% of that money is distributed equally among the 95 counties. Each county gets the same amount of 50% of the whole. And then past that, it goes into population, total road miles, and gasoline tax, I believe, is part of that equation. So we get money in an account that accumulates that we can do work. Well, actually, we contract out the work. As you know, Rutherford County Highway Department, we do our own paving. However, there is a system of roads inside Rutherford County that are considered state aid routes. And it has to, those roads have to qualify to be a state aid route. We're allowed so many miles, and that is completely based on how many total road miles we have in our county. But on those road miles, we get to count city roads, interstates, state highways, as well as county roads. And that determines how many road miles we get to have on state aid route. Now, if it's a state aid route and it needs repaved, we can elect to, as the highway department, we can elect to let that out to bid and have a private contractor repave that road. We don't have to, but we can choose to. If we choose to do that, the state, the money that's built up, that's come from the state, that's built up in an account over here, 75% of the contracted price will be paid by the state, and 25% will be paid by the county. So it's a pretty good deal for the county. All right, and so the state aid bridges is a little different. The amount of money we get on the bridges is it's more based on need, if you will. We currently have 203 bridges. Any bridge 20 feet long or longer is inspected every 2 years by TDOT. We have 203 of those, I think.
Yeah.
We think. So, depending on what the bridge was originally intended to carry, the weight limit that the bridge was originally designed and intended to carry, and what that has reduced to because of deterioration in time, that kind of factors into how much money we get on our bridges. Bridge money is a little different than road money. A lot of counties only repave what they have in their state aid fund. They don't have other money to pave with. We are fortunate we do. We have a large population here, and that, a lot of gasoline tax. Anyway, the bridge money, the highway money, most counties use that highway money. That money kind of turns over pretty regularly. The bridge money, not as much. And I've got several opinions about why that is. One of them is it takes a lot of money to work on a bridge, and that's just to repair a bridge. When you start talking about completely building a bridge, then it's a massive amount of money. So it has to accumulate in order to be able to to finance it. The other one is it's a lot of headache. It's just a big deal. You have to involve engineers, and sometimes those engineers have to involve other engineers because of the complexity of it. So it's a long, drawn out process. And it's a lot of trouble, a lot of paperwork, a lot of headaches. Recently, the State Commissioner of Transportation has said to the Tennessee County Highway Highway officials, I'm seeing a lot of idle money in the bridge account, and that's not a good thing. We want the counties to use this money. I mean, there's a reason this money is there, and we feel like it's not being utilized. So if these counties that are letting this account idle don't need it, then we're gonna go get it, and we're gonna reallocate it back out to the 95 counties. They can't go get it out of the bridge account and use it for something else, but they can go get it and reallocate it out to the other counties that might use it.
Yeah.
So
Does it have to stay in Bridges?
it
It
does.
has to stay in Bridges.
It has to stay in bridges. So, in an effort to get highway departments to use that bridge money, they said, okay, state aid roads, 75-25, the match. State aid bridges, historically, for the last several years, has been 80-20. You know, state 80, county 20. But for the next 2 years, starting July 1st of this year, 2014, for the next 2 years, we're going to reduce that. They're going to reduce that from 80-20 to 98-2. So our match is going to be 2%. Yeah.
How much money you got in the pot? Because we need to build some bridges.
So we get a list because they do inspect. We get a list, so we know what our worst. We know, and so I have started that ball rolling because for 2 years the match is going to be 98-2. Now, in that 2-year time, the work does not have to be completed, but the work has to be under contract.
Yeah.
Right. So, I go to a lot of the Tennessee County Highway official meetings. I try to go to all of them, the conferences and everything. And the last one I was at, was in Gatlinburg, and I took my bridge stuff because that's why I was going, because I knew there would be engineers there that the state is comfortable with. And they have the bridge that we're going to be working on it's a big bridge. I mean, it's
Tell us.
not really. It's Weekly Lane. It's over Fate Sanders. It's the big bridge. It's 470 feet long, 60, 70
It
feet
needs some
high.
work. It does. It needs some work.
Yeah, well, it's about to get it. Now, TDOT, I was concerned, that we were going to, if I hired an engineer, we were going to start getting bills from the engineer before we had a contract with TDOT to pay. So TDOT has allowed us to have 2 contracts with an engineer for a design and then a construction, which is, I think, unprecedented. They also said, hey, don't never bring us a bridge this bad again and want to rehabilitate it. But that's another story. But so we're well underway because I felt like we needed to get in on the ground floor. There's not that many bridge builders locally, around. And I feel like with this 98-2 match, they're all going to get busy. So we're in on the front end of this thing. We are very well underway, and I was told today by the engineering firm we have working on it that they anticipate having us a plan that we can bid from, approved by TDOT, and ready to go to bid by the end of January 2015.
So it'll bid through a standard TDOT levy.
No.
It'll be through the state aid program.
Yes.
Okay.
Through the highway department, through the state aid program. Yep.
Who is your engineer, may I ask?
Collier Engineering.
Oh, yeah, I saw Chad today. Okay. What kind of shape is the Weekly Fate Sanders Bridge in? What's it rated?
It's currently rated at 12 tons.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you wrong. It's currently rated at 15 tons.
Okay.
But the sufficiency rating is down to like 48.6. So we need to get that sufficiency rating at the end of the build. We need to get it back up to 80 or above.
Are you envisioning a rehab or a rebuild?
No, it's a rehab.
Rehab, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's a rehab. Sure is.
Are these funds specific towards that endeavor now? These specific funds here?
The bridge stuff, yes.
Yeah, they're going to this.
The bridge stuff is, yeah, this bridge, this budget amendment here is going to, the bridge one is all about that one. Now, the state aid road stuff are 2 roads that we just, last week we completed the work on those. We bid those out in the spring and we got those completed now, and the state has inspected them, and they both passed, so we will be getting our money from the state on those. We'll get our first money, fairly quickly, but the last part of it'll come a little slower. TDOT's working kind of a skeleton crew right now, and the gentleman that handles this, in the past, he's recently retired, and his apprentice is doing his job now, and he just has a difficult time getting it all done and keeping the paperwork current. And he told me today, it's going to be Christmas time before this thing's paid out, if we're lucky.
Do we have any other bridges that are in a similar situation with facing?
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah, they're not
As bad?
well. We have some that are close to the same state of disrepair, if you will, but they're not as large
Not
a structure.
Right. Fate Centers is, like you said, it's a long bridge.
Yes, and it's heavily traveled.
A lot of wrecks.
Yeah, wow, goodness,
lot of
little
wrecks.
service, yes. It's,
Greg, do these documents tell me how much money you have accumulated in the bridge program?
no,
Do you have an idea what we have in the kitty for that?
mm-hmm.
Would you like to tell me?
Well, it's like 1.3.
Okay. So that's what we approximately, I'm not going to
That's
hold you to that.
approximately, yes.
So that's what we have available to spend right now. Sort of.
Yes, yes.
And we're about to get a new year's budget of state aid money for bridges, right? We'll be getting more money for we already got the 2014 allocation. 2015 we'll be getting some more,
Yes.
which will then add to that 1.3.
Yeah, but it's been building a long time.
Okay.
We're
Well,
getting like 59 right now. I think 59,000 annually.
Okay. So that has been building a long time.
Yeah.
All right. Has Collier, when will Collier have an estimate for the bridge?
I think by December.
Okay.
I think by December.
Okay.
As fate, luck, whatever would have it, TDOT re-inspected that bridge because it's on a cycle. They re-inspected that bridge last week.
Okay.
So we're going to have some new, good,
Yeah.
current information
So,
within the next 30 days.
so somebody help me that's good at math. If $1.5 million represents 2%, and the DOT is going to pitch in 90, how?
No.
98?
But out of the 1.3-ish,
Yes.
1.2, 1.3, that's where the 98% is coming from. That money that's accumulated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That would be great.
They're taking the 98% out of the
Money that's
1.3.
accumulated. Right. That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
It's
Wow.
their money that we're holding.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
That's correct.
And we only had
Can't,
come with it.
we can't get it. We can't use it for anything else. So
Okay. So
Yeah.
we come up with 2% of whatever the
Yeah.
cost is going to be, but I know you can't build a bridge for $1.5 million or rehab a bridge for $1.5 million.
plan
What
to.
if, what if it's a big
I plan
number?
to.
Okay. If it's a big number,
I
though.
plan to
what
do it
happens?
for 680.
Do you really? Okay.
I believe we will.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sam.
I plan to do it for 680. I'll be real disappointed if it goes over that.
Okay.
And that's getting it back to an 80%
Yeah.
sufficiency rating,
Yeah.
which is gonna leave me some money to work on some other bridges with, I hope. Now, other counties are, that have been using this money all along, that don't have that kind of nest egg, if you will. They're borrowing money to take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah.
And the state that money will trickle back into their fund, and as it does, they'll pay off their loan.
Right.
So,
That's a smart thing to do. Would you ask Collier, just out of curiosity? He's going to give you a budget to get your bridge to 80%. I'm curious as to what extra monies it might cost to get that rating even higher.
I don't think it can happen. I don't.
Not on rehab.
Not on a rehab, because the state.
So you can't.
This bridge is a pin and hanger bridge. Okay.
Okay.
It rolls on a hinge,
the
if you will.
Yeah, the steel rollers. Yeah.
Yeah. And TDOT's not really.
That's old.
Yeah.
Old school.
They're not really all that excited about that. Will we exceed 80?
Yeah.
I think we will.
Okay.
Will we? It is 90,
So it's-
100
yeah.
possibility? No.
So it's not a thing that if you threw a little more money at it, you could go from 80 to 90 and make it last 5 more years longer down the road.
No, but the
See where I'm getting at? Can
yes,
you
the
spend a little more to get
underwater structure is still
sound?
sound.
Yeah.
So when we rehabilitate this bridge,
Mm-hmm.
if we will maintain that,
Yeah.
then it could last forever.
Right.
Now it's a it's a 2-lane bridge and it needs to be wider and all that kind of thing. But there's no reason that this bridge should ever fail. It should be maintained, and it's not Rutherford County. It's a nationwide issue. Our infrastructure should have been maintained all along
Yeah.
better than what it has been. Coat of paint goes a long way.
It's pitiful. It really is pitiful.
But that's, the bridge was built in '68, and we're having this conversation today. So
So we're not increasing lanes. We're not changing lane width. All we're doing is
getting it back.
ripping off the Band-Aids and putting up there that's something a little more solid, structurally sound, and going to buy more life out of it.
And stopping the deterioration. As you know, with anything, once the deterioration starts, it accelerates.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Should have driven over what was there before that.
Yeah.
I bet you.
little shaky.
Well, I move that we accept the budget amendment as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Now to call the roll, see if it's spending money.
Commissioner Dodd,
Aye.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cush,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Serrano,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for all the details, Greg.
Well, it's a lot more complicated than that, but that's kind of a snapshot of it. So,
And just to be clear to the audience and the folks at home, if we don't spend that money, they can come back and take it away from us. Because
can
we're not
indeed.
using it. They'll distribute it to other counties that are in need.
they said they would.
Well, I know they will. They've done that many times.
And another thing that goes into all that is if we don't spend that money, they're eventually going to say that bridge is condemned.
Yeah.
Then what are those folks going to do?
Yeah.
You look at the map and there's not a good alternative.
Well, and then our participation percentage goes way up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right, the next budget amendment is to increase our liability insurance because unfortunately we not just buying the occasional cracked windshield out of this liability account, we're having to pay attorney fees. And So we're gonna take it out of crushed stone and put it into the liability insurance account. Our crushed stone, probably on the next page, 50,000, I think. We're gonna decrease it by 30 to leave 20 in there. That should be fine. As you all know, we have our own quarry. We're not currently crushing stone, but we have a stockpile of crushed stone that we're working from. So unless we have to buy particular size stone that we do not have a stockpile of, we should not have to buy crushed stone. So leave $20,000 into that account right now should be fine. Now, as we use that stockpile, we'll have to address how much money we have in that account, or we'll have to crush some more stone at our facility. So that's probably a conversation for another day, but that 20,000 should take us through the rest of this year with no problem.
So you don't have any current paving projects in the future that will require some additional base stone that you'd have to pull from this? You're good, you're just paving from here on out? You're just putting asphalt.
We use a massive amount of stone. I mean, it is surprising how much crushed stone we use.
But
Just putting in culverts, that kind of thing, shoulder stone.
So you're not.
But I don't anticipate using more than we have.
The obvious question is, you've thought of that, and you're not going to be short stone at the end of the year because you didn't budget for
Correct. That's correct.
the new cross drain under
The only
Thompson
thing
Road.
that could sneak up on me is if we wake up in the morning and there's a helicopter flying across a massive sinkhole that's swallowed up a half a mile of road. You know,
That could happen.
which could happen. But
Cool.
Let's not budget for that right
I can't
now.
unless you figure out a way to
Let's get
increase
this
my
liability
revenue.
insurance up. And maybe they'll
Yeah,
cover
so
it.
you're just swapping dollars for stone for insurance, or like
Yeah.
coverage.
Against
Yes.
the sinkholes.
Yes, and and another bit of good news is one of those cases, one of those insurance claims has been put to rest. The county has been released from that particular suit
Okay, good.
as of Monday. So no, last Monday, a week ago Monday. So that's a good thing.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the budget amendment.
Second.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cush.
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Dunnington.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's all I have.
Good job.
Thanks for letting me ask a bunch of questions.
Hey, questions are always good. They lead to thought and discussion, and that's a great thing.
It's nice to have answers too.
Yeah, keep the questions simple, please.
We adjourn.
I'll second that.
Excellent.
Aye.